Welcome back to English B Honeysuckle. We will start a new unit, Unit 10, today. The lesson in this unit is the story The Banyan Tree by Ruskin Bond. It is a story in 3 parts, but for our convenience, we will further divide it into 4 parts on the basis of paragraphs. As always, here are a few points for you to note. A brief introduction to the story, reading of paragraphs as a model, explanations of keywords and phrases, comprehension questions with answers, and summary of the paragraphs discussed. An introduction to the story. The story is about a boy who lives with his grandparents. The boy enjoys his time sitting on the branches of a banyan tree in the garden and watches the world below. On such a day, he enjoys the battle of champions, the cobra and the mongoose, and discovers the mysterious rule of nature. He realizes the truth that nature balances everything in her own way. Even the most deadly cobra loses to a mongoose. Let's begin with paragraphs 1 and 2. Though the house and grounds belonged to my grandparents, the magnificent old banyan tree was mine, chiefly because grandfather at 65 could no longer climb it. Its spreading branches, which hung to the ground and took root again, forming a number of twisting passages, gave me endless pleasure. Among them were squirrels and snails and butterflies. The tree was older than the house, older than grandfather, as old as Dehradun itself. I could hide myself in its branches behind thick green leaves and spy on the world below. The key words and phrases that we have come across in the paragraphs are magnificent, spreading branches, took root, twisting passages, and spy. Let's explain them. Magnificent. It means marvelous, or wonderful, or grand. Spreading branches. It means branches that are spread out. Took root. It means grew and drew nourishment from the earth through the roots. Twisting passages. It means zigzag paths. Spy. It means catch sight of. Here is a set of short questions with answers to comprehend the ideas contained in the paragraphs. 1. Why did the persona think that he was the owner of the banyan tree? The persona thought that he was the owner of the banyan tree because grandfather was 65 and was too old to climb the tree. 2. How was the banyan tree? The banyan tree was huge and grand. 3. What gave the persona endless pleasure? The tree with its spread out branches, which hung to the ground and took root again, forming a number of twisting passages, gave him endless pleasure. 4. The narrator has used a comparison to show the oldness of the tree. What is it? He said the tree itself was as old as Dehradun. 5. Who used the twisting passages? Squirrels, snails and butterflies used the twisting passages. Summary of the paragraphs just discussed. The banyan belonged to grandparents, but the persona said it belonged to him because grandfather was too old to climb it. The author was immensely happy to see the spread out branches hung from the tree in bunches and rooted to the ground, forming zigzag passages where squirrels, snails and butterflies were living. The tree was older than grandfather's house, grandfather himself, and was as old as the city Dehradun. The persona could hide behind thick green leaves of the banyan and spy the world below. The persona could hide behind thick green leaves of the banyan and spy on the world below. What could he see? Let's go to paragraphs 3 and 4 to get the answer. My first friend was a small grey squirrel. Arching his back and sniffing into the air, he seemed at first to resent my invasion of his privacy. But when he found that I did not arm myself with catapult or air gun, he became friendly. When I started bringing him pieces of cake and biscuit, he grew quite bold and was soon taking morsels from hand. Before long, he was delving into my pockets and helping himself to whatever he could find. He was a very young squirrel, and his friends and relatives probably thought him foolish and headstrong for trusting a human. In the spring, when the banyan tree was full of small red figs, birds of all kinds would flock into its branches. The red-bottomed bulbul, cheerful and greedy parrots, myna and crows, squabbling with one another. During the fig season, the banyan tree was the noisiest place in the garden. Keywords and phrases we have come across in the paragraphs are arching, resent, catapult, morsels, delving, headstrong, invasion, spy, squabbling, the fig season. Let us explain them. Arching. It means forming into an arch shape or bending. Resent dislike, feel angry about, or express displeasure. Catapult, a forked stick with an elastic band fastened to the two prongs used by children for shooting small stones. Morsels, it means small bits of food. Delving, digging. Headstrong, willful. Invasion, invading a country or region with an armed force. Squabbling, it means fighting over small things. The fig season means the time when figs appear. Comprehension questions with answers. 1. How did the squirrel resent the persona's invasion to his privacy? The squirrel resented the persona's invasion by arching his back and sniffing into the air. 2. When did the squirrel feel that the persona was not a danger to him? The squirrel felt that the persona was not a danger to him when he saw him without anything dangerous. 3. Which action of the squirrel proves that the squirrel grew bold to face the persona? The squirrel's collecting pieces of cake and biscuits from the narrator's hand shows it. He even delved into the narrator's pocket to search food crumbs. 4. Why did the squirrel's friends and relatives not like his trusting a human? The squirrel was young and inexperienced. He did not know there might be a danger to trust a human. 5. Mention the season when the banyan had a lot of visitors to it. It is in the spring when its branches ached with small red figs that the banyan had a lot of visitors. 6. Explain the fig season. It is the time when the banyan is full of red fruits. Let's summarize the ideas contained in the paragraphs just discussed. The persona's approach to the small squirrel was friendly. In the beginning, he did not like the author's invasion into his privacy and arched his back and smelled into the air in a protest. But when he realized that the intruder was not armed with anything to harm him, he became friendly. Soon the author started bringing him crumbs of cakes and biscuits. The squirrel started eating small morsels even from his hands. Very soon, the squirrel started searching into the narrator's pockets for whatever he could find. He was a young squirrel, and his kin must have thought him to be a fool for trusting a human straightway. In the spring, the banyan tree was aching with small red fruit. Birds of kinds like bulbul, parrots, myna and crows used to fight with each other over petty things. In this season, their voices made the banyan the noisiest tree in the garden. Birds came flocking together to the banyan during the fig season and made the surroundings the noisiest place in the garden. What was the persona's activity there? Let's wait for part 2 to get the answer. This much is for today. We'll be back with part 2 in our next class.